The gospel that we just heard talks about Mary pondering all of this in her heart. And this amazing story of God's love breaking into our lives and into our hearts. And what's fascinating to me is the story of Jesus' birth is so well known to us. It is something that we heard as young children, that we have attached ourselves to, and in many ways settled into that romanticism of this love story of God, that God loved us so much, that God broke into the world so that we could redeem the world through God's love. And sometimes as I reflected upon it, I thought about what Christmas has really meant to me throughout the years. And sometimes I think I was in the spot where I really understood I had Christmas all figured out. And for a while, when I had young children at home and I had a busy life, and for me, Christmas happened when everything on my to-do list was done. You know, when the table was set and the food was prepared and the presents were wrapped and all of that, that was Christmas, because it was that moment of fullness. It was a moment when all of who I was and who I wanted to be, for the family I wanted to create, it was there. And it was tangible and it was real. And that was Christmas. Now luckily that meant I had also matured a bit, because for a while, Christmas was a white Christmas. And if it rained on Christmas, it really mattered to me. It wasn't Christmas. You know, so we all kind of go through stages when we grow in our understanding of what Christmas is all about. But I think most of us will kind of connect ourselves to the birth story we just heard from Luke. And yet what's very interesting, of course, is one of the other Gospels for the Christmas day is the story from John. And so just when we think that we have Christmas figured out, just when we think that we have the Son of God as an understandable being that walked this earth, then we have John. And we read from John, of course, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and He was in the beginning with God, and all things came through Him, and not one thing came into being without Him. And He was the light. And then it was Jesus, and the Word became flesh. And so John's Gospel, of course, gives us another lens into who Jesus was. And that brings us into that place of mystery. Because we can begin to get our head around this person, Jesus, and understand the meaning of that in our lives. But John puts this whole other image of Jesus. And the piece that John gives us that's really important is that Jesus was pre-existent to humankind. So Jesus was not an afterthought. It's not as though God created the world and then we screwed up and then God said, oh my goodness, I really need to bring a Redeemer. That from the very beginning, part of the story, the love story of God, is that Jesus would come into and within us so that we could redeem the world. And that's pretty astonishing when you really understand that God's love was before all time and will go on after all time. And I think that tells us that part of creation is redemption, that they're not disconnected ideas. So whatever we create with God already is redeemed. Whatever parts of life we create that we throw our energy and the power of God into has redemption built into it. And that's really the good news. It really is what says to us in the moment of our deepest darkness, there is always a pinprick of light that is inherently in that darkness. It says to us that no matter what we are facing, no matter what our lives look like, there is a spark of the divine that is already in it, because anything and everything that is new has that capacity to change the world. And the gift of the Gospel of John, I think, is it takes us away from the manger. It encourages us to move from the manger to understand God in a whole different way, so that we really resist the temptation to put God and keep God through Jesus in this box that's understandable, because that's just not true. It helps us understand that we can enter into a mystery, that we can be actually okay with not really understanding God, or what God is about, or how God is in our life, or how our lives are going to unfold in the joy and the love of God. That part is okay. That's part of the puzzle. That's part of the mystery that John introduces to us. So as we move through the day, as I hope that your day has become already and will continue to be this Christmas day, will be a source of joy and love and hope and peace. All of those candles that we lit on the Advent candle, they are all possible only because the Christ candle is in the center. And only because that Christ center candle represents something beyond our imagination, something beyond our human understanding, but something that we walk into every day. And as you come forward today to receive communion, I invite you to settle into that beautiful place that this is where it all comes together. This is where the love of Christ is so poured out into our lives, where it is tangible, where it is real, where it is true, so that we can turn and we can live and we can move into that place of goodness that was designed for us in the beginning. Amen.